Want to get back to Kevin Warsh with the question that we just asked, which was around this idea that, and you talked about an accord between the Treasury and the Fed, which raised it, in my mind, this speculation just last week that potentially Secretary Bessent could also become the head of the Fed at the same time, and what that would portend.
So I don't know if I'm supposed to say this on air, but I love Scott. I think Scott's doing a great job. He and I have a similar pedigree. We both worked for the finest investor in the world in Stan Druckenmiller. So if you're going to try to goad me into say something bad about Scott, I simply can't do it.
That's not the intent at all.
I think he's doing a great job, and I think he's serving the president well.
The question is whether you think that the same individual, not whether it's Scott or somebody else, could do both of those jobs, and what that would mean to this whole independence concept and how people will feel about this accord even idea in that context.
Well, it would make the accord easier if the same person was on both sides of it. But listen, I guess I'd describe it to you this way. When I was a kid and I went to the Fed 20 years ago as a governor, I went downtown to see Paul Volcker, who was the great man. I think I brought my autograph book. I was so excited to meet him. I was a child to become governor. I asked him these narrow questions about the Fed. And he said, Kevin, listen, I'll support you. I'll tell the Democrats that you're going to be fine. But the job of being chairman of the Fed is two things. It's one, you got to get interest rates about right. And two, he said, you got to make sure you look like you know what you're doing. My view is the group that's there, they're well-intended, I am sure. There's huge amounts of talent. They haven't had interest rates about right for a long time. And they don't really look, as they change goalposts, like they have control and a deep understanding of what's going on. Credibility is the coin of the realm. If the same person is in both of those jobs, you're going to have a bit of a credibility deficit, the kind of credibility deficit that the Powell Fed has right now. So what I'd rather have are two people that understand that we have one government, that interest rates are part of it. The Fed has operational independence for that narrow area. And we work together seamlessly because we are on the verge of this transformational moment, and these two people can be on the same team, even if one of them is independent interest rates.
The last really effective chairman of the Fed that we had was who?
So, God, you're asking me to pick which. I'll say this.
I'm just asking you to go back about four of them but to get
All right, well, let me say this.
Greenspan?
I don't know if this is in my interest or against. Ben Bernanke, in the darkest days of the financial crisis, was brilliant. And here's the thing he did that I thought was impressive. He put the likes of me and Tim Geithner and Don Cohn in his room, and we disagreed then and now about everything. And he wanted to hear us fight it out, and then he would decide. So during the darkest days where we're making stuff up, he broadened the discussion instead of narrowed it. And here's another thing he did in the crisis period. He was humble about what we know. No silly dots and silly forecasts, no placing blame on other people, no taking responsibility. And I know it's very common now to say the problem is the president's being so mean to these guys. Most of these Fed's problems are because of Fed mistakes. The Fed needs to stop defending their mistakes and vindicating their critics and get on the right track. I'm a Fed guy, Joe. Yep. I think it can be fixed. It was a great institution. And to use a cliche, I think it could be great again.